And that's what I'm talking about. We are back again for another venue of Raw Talk with Respect with D Mainstream. I encourage everyone to like and subscribe. That is one of the most important things to do, so that way people can hear what we have to say and get feedback. Very, very important. If there's any audio or any other problems that you don't see yourselves or hear yourselves are being responded to, please let me know, and you know how to do so. But I have you here on YouTube as well as Facebook. So let's get into it. We're talking about last night and what happened. And I'm sure about last night, most people understand that was about Will Smith and him putting hands on Chris Rock, and why, and if it really mattered, and where do we go from there, and if people really are affected by that or they're really upset about it. My thoughts before we get into all that is simply this. I would say that one, from childhood, there's only a lot of things that are being done to you that you'll accept. Eventually get to a tipping point. And when you get to that tipping point, what is enough for you, whether it be physical, mental, emotional, doesn't really matter. What is enough for you in your everyday life, from your job to your interaction with people, to your interaction with your family, friends, whatnot? And what do you just deal with because you feel like, it's not worth it? Or is it? And then when you do react, not necessarily blow up like you hit someone. I'm not referring to that. Why is it received differently than the people that do the things to you that make you feel that way? It's very important, I think. It's not only important, it's essential that people know how you feel, that you voice how you feel, and you stand up for yourself. A lot of times we don't want to do that because it's politically correct not to, and we're accustomed not to, because you're either shamed, or it's not politically correct, or you just don't want to do it. I think it's important. In a lot of ways, if we don't stand up for ourselves and speak up for ourselves, people will not only walk over you, they'll do what they feel like is necessary to you, regardless of how you feel. I am of the firm belief that you don't leave it up to anybody else. With respect. Do I think Will was wrong last night for putting his hands on Chris Rock? Yeah, and no. Yeah, because you just can't put your hands on people, and plus it's a bad look. No matter how you do it, it's a bad look. But at the same time, as a human being, you as a man specifically, you are not only saddled, you're expected to take up, protect your family. What if he wouldn't have said a word and done what he's always done? Just take it. Just take it. What would be the memes today? Him crying, or woe is me, and everyone would be talking about him, because we think mental health is something that you can just laugh at, flip it, and it's not. But then when you do it and say and talk about it, you're shamed for it. But then when you react, it's overreacting. Says who? Depending on the action, circumstance, situation. I think those are factors. And I think the meat of that is, it's not if he did it, if it was right or wrong. People are, if it's right or if it was wrong that he did, it's not about that. That's only part of it. What led up to it, what made him feel that way, or what he allowed someone to make him feel a certain way, and his responsibility to his family, which is number one. Not to us, not to society, not to Oscars. They will be here long before and long after him. But what is his ultimate primary responsibility? These are things that we really need to talk about. These are things that we think about every single day that we wake up. the apprehension that some have when they go to sleep and when they wake up in the morning, getting ready for the next day, even though mentally you're doing it all day long, even in your sleep, because you can't shut down or slow down. It takes a toll on you. What if you were constantly working out your arms and legs every single day, all day long, and even in your sleep, you were doing it? The effects would not be good for you. So you do that with your mind every day. There's not enough time in the day. There's not enough problems that need to be solved, that you need to solve, or at least you're looked upon to do so, and you take that responsibility to heart. I firmly believe last night that he really overstepped boundaries. Family, your kids, your wife, your husband, your partner, whoever you identify with, it is very, very important that people respect that. It is essential that they respect that. And if they don't respect that, how do you get that? What do you do to get that back? What is the way to do that? And I think it's really important that we really, really look at that. Because the truth is, if we don't, then we're subjective to whatever people think we should do and not actually what we should do. Let me see if I can get this in correctly. Maybe I'm back. There we go. I think it's important to do that. That's a thought that's internally that we really need to look about or think about. Because a lot of times we are gauging our response on how someone else will view us in doing so. And a lot of times we don't respond because we're so worried about what someone else is going to think. I think that's the story of a lot of people's lives, and we have life pass us by every single day because of that. So what if it didn't matter, but you be you, consistently, the good person, the person that stands for yourself, the person that does people right, and you've been doing that, but people don't respect what you do by their actions, their words, their shots. And then they'll cloak it with, I was just being funny. I was just kidding. No, I wasn't serious. I believe in my heart that even things said in jest, there's some semblance of truth to that. It comes from somewhere. Whether you're making fun or not and saying, hey, it's my job or whatnot. Well, your job almost got your behind beat. Well, it got you slapped. And I believe also that you only do that to people that you think you can do that to. Consistently. Not a one-off, not a couple of times, but consistently. And then you're made fun of. And then you wonder why people blow up. Then you want to blame why they blow up, instead of looking for the root of why they feel what they feel. I'll go back to mental health is important. It is essential that we pay attention to how people feel, that we're empathetic to them, that we try to understand them. And if we care about them, we will do the due diligence and work to find that out. If we don't, it shows in our actions and our words. And then we're shocked when we feel that someone is out of line. Who was out of line before or first? Why does it have to be something that's so outlandish that has to happen, that shocks you, that wakes your behind up to know that people need you to be humane? Not funny, humane. That person has to go home to either his family, to his friends, to her family, to her friends. And they have to deal with that every day. And that too is their lineage. And it may not be that important to you, but it obviously is that important to them. And if we don't take the time to really put ourselves second, and do the work within to be better every single day, then we're doing the same thing that we've been doing for the last 20, 30, 40 years. What's going to change if you do the same thing? How are we evolving? Is it not important to you how people feel and why? And if it's not, are you ready to deal with the consequence when you're doing those things? See, that's a part that we always talk about. We're so desensitized because every day we look on TV and all we see is trauma, 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 and not just drama, trauma. And we laugh about it. We say, hey, look at this. How many likes? And then you have the tropes, the internet gangsters that have something to say behind that keyboard that would never say it in your face. Because the response will be what you saw last night. And that's from one of the most mild-mannered people that you ever have seen. Think about it. When have you ever seen that from that person? That's the anomaly. But how many times have you heard someone talk about it, or his wife, or his children? Think about your friends, or even just associate. Would you go and talk about them openly to someone that they could hear, and that it would be told to them after you left or the next day? Would you do that to people that you work with? Would you do that to people that you are associates with? You wouldn't dare. So what makes you think that you can do that anyway from someone that's on TV? And why do we celebrate that? That's a question that I can't understand. Why do we celebrate that? Who are we to laugh about that and say, oh, look at that, that's what they get? It is because internally you're projecting. Yeah, you heard me. You're projecting your things on them, and you're feeling better about someone else being done that way because that's how you feel about yourself. And then when you're called on it, you're mad. How dare you? Well, be conscientious about the things that you do and you say. And that's never a worry. Because if you put them first and you care and you have empathy, we wouldn't have this conversation. We wouldn't be talking about it. It wouldn't be blowing the internet up. The next thing that's happened. And then tomorrow, the next day and next week, something else. And then the next week, next year, something else. When does it become enough? To what we say, enough is enough, people. Don't sit there and think that it's okay to do either one of those things. Put your hands on someone or talk about someone that you love. Because the truth is, if someone was talking about someone you love and care about to your face, you tell me the truth. What's your reaction? If they consistently talk about your family, you, your friends, to your face or behind your back and it gets back to you and then they see you and they still do it all the time, tell me your reaction. I truly want to know what your reaction would be. And if you're going to tell me, hey, I'm just going to let it go, but I'm still going to interact with them and it's cool. Okay, OJ. Okay. We both know that's not real. That's not a real world. And when you think that you can do those things, you didn't just learn that behavior. You were taught that behavior, you exemplify and exercise that behavior, and you do it consistently because no one has ever checked your behind. But the one thing about it is once that happens, you are definitely more thoughtful about the things that come out of your mouth than what you do. You have to be. Because people, you're dealing with someone's soul. You're dealing with their emotions. You're dealing with their interaction with someone else. You're dealing with how people view them that are going to be raised and mimic their life by someone they respect, care about. And you, out of all people, are taking that away. Or you are that person that's accentuating them. and making them feel amazing, making them feel like they are worth. Now, what if he says something so positive, so funny, that everyone clapped and had a standing ovation? Which one would you choose? So you help me understand why we are okay with the opposite. Think about that. It's like you waking up in the morning. You can find 1,000 reasons to be mad at the world and how it's going to go bad and how you have to deal with today. Or you can do the exact opposite. And you know how your day will turn out. Or the likelihood chances that it would be. Because it's kind of like this in really the rawest of terms. When you are, say, investing in things, you don't know the outcome all the time. You just think you may, or you've heard some good things, and you invest because you think it's going to turn out well. And all the time, it's not turning out well. Sometimes it does. Sometimes you hit the lottery. And I don't mean specifically hit the lottery, but you know what I mean. Why don't we invest in people like that? Because we don't see what we think or what we should see in our mind about them. Why don't we invest in them and then help them by reinforcing what we believe them and what they could be? Why is that so hard? Why is that a struggle? Truly, why is that a struggle? I don't understand why that would be a struggle. It's so hard to be good to people. It's so hard to talk to them and make them feel wanted. It's so hard to tell them that they're amazing today and they are someone that really matters. It doesn't say a lot about them. It says a lot about the audience, whoever that may be. And it's not always easy to do that, especially when you feel like you've been done wrong. And you're either going to allow that to fester in your life, or you're going to do something about that and have a different course. Kind of like those books you used to read back in the day, Choose Your Own Adventure. After a certain page, you can go one way or the other. That's your life every day. You absolutely make a choice when you get your behind out that bed and before you go there to go to sleep, and when you wake up and when you interact. And you can find every reason in the world to be mean, nasty, or very, very bad to people. Or you can find a way to do the opposite. Whichever way you choose is a reflection on you. There are caveats. There are situational and circumstances that make you change that outcome. But the truth is, you have a choice. So the people on the receiving end, I would say this to you. Do a personal inventory of everybody in your life. Tonight, tomorrow, and moving forward. Do a personal inventory. Everyone that you give your time to, that you feel you're important enough to do so, or you don't feel like you're important enough to do so. But give yourself a personal inventory of everyone in your life that you interact with, that you care, love, empathetic, vice-wise, trust. And then you see and write down or have that conversation with yourself. Who gives you something back consistently? Who gives you something to really move forward with, to believe in? Who accentuates you? Who makes you feel amazing? Who makes you feel okay? Who's there when you need them? Who do you trust that if I tell you, it stays there? Is that inventory a lot? Or is that inventory a little? Or, as well, do you make reasons for why the people you want that inventory to be that way, they aren't, but yet you still keep them? That is a reflection on you too, by the way. People will only do what you allow them to do to you. And if you call them what we call to the carpet and back that up with data, because that doesn't lie. Men lie, women lie. Data does not lie. And if you did a personal inventory of the people that are in your life for the last 5, 10 years, you'll know who it is and who it isn't. Easily identifiable. But we don't want to have that conversation. That's too tough. It's hard. It's hard to talk and have that conversation because we all have it. And our hope is that they will change instead of us changing who they are, like cut off. Because you don't miss things until they're gone. You do not miss things until they're gone. Why do you think funeral homes are so successful? Because people have to die, and they will. But that's the time everybody wants to tell you how amazing you were. And as I've said before, it's too late for them now. They never knew. They can't get the benefit of hearing that from someone they love and care about, or even respected, or even just whatever. Why does that not resonate on an everyday level with people? Think about that. Think about that. Everyone is like, I love this person. He's amazing. They're great. But did they know that? Do the people in your life know that? Or do you find reasons to shade them, or not good enough, or they did this or they did that? Do you hold inventory of those things? More importantly, do you hold inventory of your own? Do you truly hold inventory of the things that you do? Things that have been brought to your attention, and things you know to be true regardless if someone brings them to them or not. Because you know. When no one else knows, when you lay down by yourself, even with anyone else, you know. You know what no one else knows. That's why it's a projection. And for those that pay attention, they see, and that's why the response is what you get. It's not hard to care. It's not hard to want and facilitate positive. It's a choice. I can only hope that the people that are out there that are listening, and when they do listen after the fact, really take the time to internalize that. People matter. People matter. Feelings of those people matter. And if they don't matter, why are they in your life? In any capacity. Either you're using them, abusing them, or you're loving them and facilitating the same thing from them that comes from you. Because as we say, we lead by example, don't we? Unless you're a follower. That's even worse. And I look directly at the people because I want them to understand, you know that's you. Either side of that coin, it's you. You control your destiny. You control what you say, what you do. And that does not mean that you're not to feel certain ways. That just means, what do you do with the information? And if it's so bad, why are you still there? These are things that I know we've all thought about, that we're going to continue to think about. And last night was really well put when art imitates life. We think these things first in our mind. They grow and fester, and then you have an outlet. You either deal with them and address them and move on a different path, or you are just accumulating all these things to do harm. And it's not okay. And that is the reason why I said initially that he was wrong by putting his hands on him. Because if you felt a certain way, you should have addressed that before. And you could have. There's always a better way. Did I at the time think exactly what they get? Yes. I'd be lying to you if I told you different. Because I was like, yeah, should have really did it. Should have stomped him. But that's not the way. Because then someone else that doesn't have the wherewithal and thought process to do what's right won't think it like that. They'll just do anyway and say, well, they did, so it must be right. The same thing that people do right now. The same thing. They just don't put their hands on them. All around the world, you pick up the newspaper, you go on your internet, you go on TikTok, you go on Facebook, you go on YouTube. The thing that pops up is something that's happening or someone has been done wrong. There's not even a channel, internet or otherwise, with all the social media. There's not one channel that's committed to only positive information, outlook, communication, every single day like the news. There's not one, think of this, not one channel. How many channels, how many outlets are there? From personal to association to internet to phone. And there's not one that's focused on positive news, feedback, what's going on. Hell, they have the Weather Channel. They have the Animal Channel. They have Naked and Afraid. People out there butt naked trying to survive. And there's not one channel of positive influx to society. Wake up. You can't see this? And matter of fact, when you do see it, you're like, oh my God, you move to tears. Or you're so like, wow, that's amazing. You're shocked when someone opens a door. You're shocked when someone says thank you. You're shocked when someone says yes ma'am, no ma'am. You're shocked when someone smiles, and then when they do, you're like, what do they want? If I am wrong when I just said those things to you, tell me. You are shocked, surprised. It's not expected. Why? Are we really that much a product of our environment? Are we really zombies walking around like robots with no feeling unless it appeases to our own mentality instead of somebody else's and seeing their pain? It's not okay. If it's okay with you, it's not with me. Not going to happen. I'm going to continue to influx that positive nature and tell you that you're dope. Because I'm projecting. Life is to be lived. And I can only hope the interactions you have with others, you do the same for them. And they walk away from you happy, amazed, and insightful that someone sees them differently than what they're inundated with every single day of their life. Every single day of their life. From going to work and people disrespect your job and what you do for a living. No care in the world of how they just disregard you because it's normal to them. But you see it. To the people that you walk around every single day that walk through the door right before you and let the door hit you in the face if it did and you didn't see it, but won't take the time for 1 second to hold it for you. So telling. It's so telling, people. A lot bypass it and say, whatever. But others, like myself, we see you. And most times we say something to you. And more times than not, we're the bad person. by calling you out on your behavior. Because if you wouldn't have, I would not have. That's bull. That's you justifying your actions, which you've been doing forever, which is why you're doing what you do. And you're too lazy to put in the work to do it. It's like if you're overweight and you don't want to go to the gym, but you think you're going to get skinny or lose weight, but you don't want to put in the work. We want the immediate. Take a pill. Go get surgery. And I'm not saying that's bad. Do you, boo-boo. I'm simply saying to you, what's wrong with putting in the work? Because the truth is, whether you believe it or not, someone is watching you, whether it be close or from afar, and they're taking their lead from you. And that's a hell of a responsibility, whether you realize it or not. People watch you every day. People see what you do. And some respect you. Some watch you and waiting for you to fail. But the only person that's in control of that is you. I talked to some people today and I wanted them to really understand, because we had some very heated discussions about not only right or wrong or what happened and how it came to be, but it's very deep. It's not just that, what happened last night. It's far reaching. Out of that happened last night, how many times has it happened that you've never seen or heard since that 24 hours? How much shaming before and since has happened since then? I mean, the memes were ruthless. From, I'm glad that his wife didn't have all our exes rush the stage, to he should have done that at the red table. All these things, just no empathy, just shaming. And you wonder why we live in an atmosphere of people that are upset, angry, and mad. We have the tools. Why don't we use it? That's even worse. Experience has taught every single one of us, what to do. Why do we consciously choose to do the other? It's maddening, sad. But you're only 50% of that equation. Don't lose sight of that, and do not ever allow someone to take that away from you. You are worth. And however you need to express that, you do so with respect to them. That doesn't mean put your hands on them. But you tell, you say, and you make sure everyone around you understands that when you give respect, you demand it back. And if you don't get it, move around, or you command it anyway. Every human being wants to be respected. From the days of wearing a placard that says, I am a man, because I need to reinforce the fact to you that I'm a man, not less than a man, to right now, respect me and my family. And if not, you deal with the consequence. And I ain't mad. I'm just not mad at the response. Right or wrong? Hey, it's not that simply cut and dry. It's just not. Respect is deserved. I don't have to demand it, neither does anybody else. It's deserved. Because there's one word that makes it deserved. And it encloses all of us, no matter who you are, what you look like, woman or man. It's humanity. And we so quickly lose sight of that, it's shameful. And if you can't be humane to people that you interact with every day, but you can be humane to an animal, to something that's not even anything remotely going to give you any kind of blowback. What does that say? Really, what does that say? Blows my mind. This is just a really snippet of the things I'm going to say. And I promise, I did say before, but it's going to be something that I really understand, and I want you to think about these things. It's important that we really think about these things, not just a podcast and me saying some things that resonate with you, but that we take these things and we apply them to our everyday life, that we apply them to how we interact with people. If you do, you do. If you don't, you don't. Because you only, again, are 50% of that equation. Don't lose sight of that, by the way. When you're trying to control the other 50% of whoever it may be, or what it may be, or situation, circumstance it may be, that's when you start feeling that way of out of sorts and out of control and helpless. Start feeling helpless, which leads you to believe whatever you need to do, you will. It's not necessary. Be smart. Be very smart. Because a lot of times people are waiting for you not to be smart. So I will leave everyone with this tonight that looks here tonight and beyond. Simply put, very simply put, last night was shocking to probably 90% of the world. Shocking. Think why it was shocking. Was it because of the person? Probably. Would you expect that out of some other person? Like say a Suge Knight? Would have never said that. You would have never said that. People do what you allow them to, or what they think they can do to you. 50%. What they think they can do to you, they will do. Not everyone, but when you see it, that's my favorite word. Don't be a knucklehead. Don't be a knucklehead. See things for what they are, not for what you want them to be, because you only control your 50%. Don't be a simp. Don't be disrespectful. But demand respect the same way you give it. And that's applicable to those people. You're giving respect, you get respect back. You are human, you're going to make mistakes. Now, if he wants to hold that against him for the rest of his life and bring it up every time, it's what it is. But it's not just that. That's just his vehicle to do so. And most people that do not have humanity has a vehicle that they utilize to allow those feelings to come out and be justified in their mind. Tear that car up. I mean, tear that car up. Because you are worth it. And if someone can't see your worth, to hell with them. Because you have too much to give to waste a day of your life that you can never get back from anyone that doesn't see that. From anyone, family, friends, associate, church, you name it. If that's your thing, whatever. But you hear me. If people can't see you and promote the best in you, because every single person listening now and after, there's some amazing things about you. and complete strangers come and tell you every day or throughout your week. They tell you. It wasn't hard for them to tell you. Why is it hard for anybody else that you allow in your life? Does it get monotonous to them? Or does the caring run out? The love run out? Do you get tired? They don't want to just tell you? Or do they don't want to tell you because maybe you might get too full of yourself? God forbid that, right? You keep being good to people. It works out. It works out. To all my friends, to all my fam, I love you all, and we'll chat soon, I promise. Please leave your questions or comments for me to respond to at another time, and at the same time, whatever you want me to talk about. But I'm gonna do this a little bit more because this is some really good therapy that I'm missing out on, that I need to continue to do. Helps me quite a bit, as much as it helps you, hopefully. Be good to people. Don't forget that. And don't stop doing that after a day or two. Put it in your repertoire. Big word. Do it every day. Be good, people. See you soon.